Ethan was the kind of man who made people stop and stare. He had sparkling blue eyes, a strong jawline, and a smile that could light up a room. But when Ethan met Claire, he surprised everyone by choosing her. Claire was simple and sweet. She didn't wear fancy clothes or makeup, and she was shy around new people, but she had a warm heart and a laugh that made people feel good. Even though she was happy Ethan had chosen her, she sometimes felt unsure. She would look at herself in the mirror and wonder, why would someone like him choose someone like me? He could have any girl he wants. But despite these thoughts, she loved him deeply. When they started dating, Ethan had one rule that Claire found a little strange. He always wanted the lights off when they went to bed, no matter what. It wasn't just when they were ready to sleep, it was always. Claire had never known anyone to be so serious about this before, but she didn't think much of it. Ethan never explained why, and she didn't ask. She loved him, and that was enough for her. After a while, they got married. Claire felt like she was living a dream. They moved into a small but cozy house, decorated it with things they loved, and shared meals, laughs, and special moments together. The rule about the lights being off at night stayed the same, but Claire was used to it by then. It was just another part of their routine. Time passed, and they became parents to two wonderful children, a lively boy named Max and a cheerful little girl named Lily. Max was 7, full of energy and always asking questions about everything. Lily was 3, and she loved to follow her brother everywhere, holding her stuffed bear tightly wherever she went. Ethan and Claire's life felt complete. Even though Claire still wondered sometimes why Ethan chose her, she felt lucky. She had a loving husband, 2 amazing kids, and a happy home. One night, after putting Max and Lily to bed, Ethan and Claire retreated to their bedroom as they always did. With the kids asleep, they felt the familiar comfort of being alone together. As usual, they turned off the lights before they got into bed. It was part of their routine, so much so that Claire didn't think twice about it anymore. But tonight, something was different. They forgot to lock the bedroom door. In the middle of the night, Max woke up with a nightmare. His tiny body shook with fear, and he felt lost and scared in the dark. All he wanted was the comfort of his parents. He stumbled out of bed, tiptoed down the hallway, and pushed open their bedroom door. The room was dark, just like he was used to, so he reached for the light switch to find them. When the light flicked on, Claire felt her heart drop. She looked at Ethan and saw something she had never expected. Her eyes widened and her mouth fell open. Ethan didn't have what she thought all men had. It was like a blank space where there should have been something. She stared, unable to understand. "Ethan!" she screamed without thinking. Her hands flew to her mouth and she backed away, her heart pounding in her chest. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. For years, she had been with him, married him, and they had children together. How could this be? Ethan's face turned pale, and he quickly grabbed the blanket to cover himself. He looked both ashamed and afraid. "Claire, wait," he whispered, his voice shaky. "I can explain." Ethan's hands were trembling as he spoke. He could see the confusion and hurt on Claire's face, and it broke his heart. He had tried so hard to keep this secret, and now everything was coming undone. "Claire," he began softly, "I was born like this. I've always been this way." Tears filled his eyes, and he had to take a deep breath before continuing. "When I was younger, I was bullied and made fun of. Nobody understood, and every time I told someone, they didn't want to be with me anymore." Claire felt tears on her cheeks. But why didn't you tell me, Ethan?" she whispered, her voice shaky. "We've been together for so long. Why did you hide this from me?" Ethan looked down, feeling ashamed. "I was scared," he admitted. "When I met you, Claire, you were so kind and you made me feel safe. I was afraid that if I told you, you would leave me, just like everyone else did. So I kept it a secret, hoping we could just be happy together. I have been using other means to please you every night." Claire's mind raced. She felt sad for him, but she also felt betrayed. She had trusted Ethan, and she didn't understand why he couldn't have trusted her too. But before she could say anything else, Ethan's face changed. His eyes, which had been full of sadness, now looked angry. "But now, Claire," he said, his voice louder and filled with hurt, "it's your turn to explain. How did we have kids, Claire? If I'm like this, then how are Max and Lily mine?" Claire felt her whole body go cold. She knew this moment would come someday, but she had hoped it wouldn't. Her hands started shaking as she tried to find the words. "Ethan, she began, but she didn't know how to say it. Years ago, before she met Ethan, Claire had a boyfriend named Daniel. They had been together for a long time, and even after they broke up, they couldn't fully let go of each other. They had shared so much, and Daniel was someone she felt deeply connected to, almost like they were tied together by an invisible string. Tears streamed down her face as she confessed, "Ethan, I never ended things with Daniel. We've been seeing each other all these years. I was scared that you were too good for me, that you'd leave me one day. So I kept Daniel close. And I think Max and Lily might be his. Even he doesn't know." Ethan's face turned pale, and his eyes filled with a mix of pain, anger, and betrayal. "You mean to tell me that not only did you lie to me about the kids, but you've been keeping this secret relationship all this time? You let me believe this was my family?" Claire nodded, her heart breaking as she saw the hurt in his eyes. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. I was scared. I didn't think I was good enough for you, and I thought if I kept things with Daniel, I would always have someone who wouldn't leave me." After Claire's confession, the house became eerily quiet, and neither Ethan nor Claire spoke to each other for days. Ethan wondered if he could ever forgive Claire for hiding the truth about the children and keeping her relationship with Daniel a secret for so long. Meanwhile, Claire questioned whether she could accept Ethan's hidden truth, even though she loved him. They were both hurt and afraid, unsure if their marriage could survive the weight of their secrets. Feeling overwhelmed and alone, Claire decided to visit her mother. As they sat at the kitchen table, Claire poured out her heart, telling her mother everything about the affair, the children, and Ethan's secret. Her mother listened quietly, her face full of concern, and then gave Claire some advice, knowing how difficult things were for her daughter. "Stay in your marriage, Claire," her mother advised gently. "You both kept secrets and you both were afraid. Now is the time to work together, to be honest, and to build back the trust you lost." Claire returned home feeling more determined. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she wanted to try. She loved Ethan and her children, and she was ready to face the truth together, no matter how hard it would be. That night, Claire waited for the kids to go to bed and approached Ethan. Claire poured out her feelings, apologizing for hiding the truth and for letting her fear control her actions. She admitted how wrong she had been and expressed her love for Ethan, asking for a chance to fix things. "Do you really think saying sorry is enough?" Ethan snapped, his voice rising. "You lied to me for years, Claire. You let me believe those kids were mine while you kept seeing Daniel. How could you do that?" His words cut deep, and Claire felt the heat of his anger. She tried to defend herself, saying she was scared he would leave her, but Ethan wasn't ready to accept her reasons. "Scared? You were scared. So you thought it was better to lie and betray me?" he shouted, his fists clenched. Claire's own anger flared up. "You also lied, Ethan. You were hiding something too. You never trusted me enough to tell me the truth about yourself," she yelled back. The argument grew louder, with both of them raising their voices. Years of hurt and frustration spilled out as they confronted each other, their emotions raw and unfiltered. As the conversation got heated, they heard a small voice from the doorway. "Mom, Dad, are you fighting?" Max stood there, looking scared. Ethan and Claire both froze. They looked at Max and then at each other. They knew they couldn't show their anger in front of their child. Ethan's expression softened and he took a deep breath. He walked over to Max and knelt down. "No, son," he said gently, pulling Max into a hug. "We're not fighting. We're just talking." Claire joined them, her eyes red from crying. She reached out and held Max's hand. Little Lily peeked around the corner, hugging her stuffed bear tightly. Claire and Ethan pulled her close too. For a moment, they all huddled together, feeling the warmth of their family. Ethan looked up at Claire. There was still hurt in his eyes, but he also looked determined. "They may not be mine, Claire," he said, his voice calm but serious. "But they're still my kids. I've loved them since the day they were born, and that will never change. But from now on, we can't have any more secrets. We need to be honest." Claire nodded, her heart full of both sadness and hope. "I promise, Ethan, no more secrets." As they held their children close, they knew things would be hard. They decided that from this moment on, they would work together to rebuild their family, one truth at a time. Like and subscribe for more beautiful stories.